Today James is having fried potatoes with a veggie burger, and his bun is not a bun, it's a Napa cabbage leaf with pickle, red onion, orange tomato, red bell pepper, and feta cheese. I think that's all I put on that one. And then he's going to have this, which is excellent. And yes, lilac flowers are edible.
Wow, that looks so delish.
I'm going to talk about Sanctuary, which I've talked about a little before, but I thought I'd give it a second go, and I'm glad I did. And Sun. And that's the Nanaimo Bar Cheesecake that we're eating today, and it was given to us, and boy, am I ever thankful for that. James is talking some more about hockey, it looks like. So I'll get my video reviews out of the way, and then he'll be chatting with you. But yeah, this Nanaimo Bar Cheesecake, that's better than cheesecake. It's better than Nanaimo Bar. It's somehow they made a treat that's
desserts ever. Wow.
Yeah, and it says on the box, thaw and serve. We have found no. Eat it frozen like a ice cream cake. It's so amazing.
It's better than ice cream, incidentally.
It's better than that.
Yeah.
It's so good. So, anyway, I think it might be my new favorite treat. My old favorite treat used to be gulab jamun. They're excellent. But this is fantastic. And
we showed amazing restraint because when did we get it?
A while ago. We've just been eating it.
We divided it up into 6 different pieces.
And then we didn't eat it every day.
No. That's amazing.
So, anyway, but today this will be the last of it. But wow, what a treat. So thank you, President's Choice, and thank you, Food Bank, for giving that to us. Fantastic. What a treat. So it was funny because when we were going to go, we had never been to the Food Bank food truck service before. And so I was saying, oh, what will it be? It'll be a sandwich and either a Nanaimo bar or a cookie. And James was like, no, it's going to be pudding. And he says probably a sandwich, though. Probably, and he was listing off what it would be, right? What kind of sandwich?
Oh, I thought it would be the typical, like tuna, egg salad sandwich.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I hope it's egg
Turkey
salad because then at least I can eat it. You know, technically it won't be meat. But anyway, so we were making our wish list of what, and I was like, oh, I bet you it'll be a Nanaimo bar for a dessert.
That was more a wish list.
Or maybe a cookie. And I was like, it'd be okay if it was a cookie, but Nanaimo bar. And I thought, well, maybe it'll be a burger, because I don't know, maybe their food truck is like a food truck that makes stuff. And I thought, probably won't be a burger because they want stuff that's already ready to go. But it was not what I expected it would be at all. It wasn't sandwich and a little Nanaimo bar. No, they gave like the whole box of Nanaimo bar cheesecake. And they gave a whole box of veggie burgers. So awesome. So I got my wish list. I was thinking of, oh, what will it be? And I got that.
It was real
amazing.
food.
Yeah,
and
it was excellent.
Some real treats.
Anyway, Sanctuary. When I first watched this, I put it on the bottom of the stack. Now, mind you, there's only 2 movies on my stack today. So, this series, I thought, well, it's pretty boring. I slept through it the first time I watched it. And then I thought, well, it's not really fair for me to give it bottom of the stack when or even near there or whatever. When I haven't really seen it, I've slept through it. But it didn't even keep me awake this time. The whole way through, still, it kept me awake more, so I was able to get that there is a story there, and it's like an evil twin kind of story, and sort of crossed with The Prisoner, if you've watched that, what was that, Patrick McGowan series, which is really good. You should watch it if you haven't.
Patrick what?
McGowan, isn't it?
Okay.
Prisoner. Anyway,
Yeah, prison.
whatever.
Or whatever.
And so they're in this beautiful place. It's a sanitarium, right? And there's mountains and lakes, and it's just fantastic. This is like a paradise that these people are in. And it turns out that they're terribly psychotic, and this is like a prison. It's beautiful, but it's a prison for them, right? Like, they can't leave, and that's a good thing because they're really scary people. But at the beginning, the one woman, she's a twin, and she gets invited to go visit her sister, who is psychotic, in that sanitarium. She didn't know. She didn't know that her sister was psychotic. She didn't know that this, whatever had happened, right? Because she wasn't raised with her sister. As soon as her parents figured out that her sister was not going to be a good person, the parents split them up. So the one would have a chance at being a good person. The other one, they were responsible for her and everything, taking care of her, but they knew they didn't want to risk her probably killing her sister or something like that. I mean, when you have really dangerous psychotic people, they just can't be kept with people who aren't dangerous. Plain and simple. And so anyway, there's the sanitarium, and there's a lot of cameras around, and honestly, as far as I can see, it's a bad place to live because you're surrounded by all these scary people. But with more cameras, it wouldn't be a bad place to live at all. It'd be a wonderful place to live, and people might actually want to go there. I don't know, but anyway, it's there's enough story there. I watched it the second time, and I'm glad I did, because it's worth watching. Sun. Oh, this is interesting because it's a horror movie that it's about it opens up, a woman is escaping from some people, and she's pregnant, so you get the impression she's escaping from a cult of some kind, right? She's a young woman, pregnant, and she doesn't want her child to be raised in that. So then you see her son later. He's maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8. I don't know. Maybe 8. And yeah, it says 8 on the back. All right. So he's 8 years old, and he's the sweetest boy. He's so wonderful, and he loves his mama, and they have a wonderful life together. And then she finds a bunch of the cult members in the son's bedroom one night, and she is telling the police officer, this happened, I didn't dream this, and whatever, but she doesn't tell the whole story of she escaped from a cult and this and that, right? She just, but anyway, there's a few twists, and it's worth watching. Honestly, it's a horror movie worth watching. I didn't like the ending at all. At all. So, it was stupid. The guy cutting his arm and whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous. But, still, it's a horror movie. What do you expect? What do you want from it? So, I'll let James go on and talk about hockey, I guess.
Amazingly enough, I don't have any complaints about the CBC.
Oh yes,
But
you were listening that on the way to the hike this morning.
But I guess with the news, it's been a little bit hard for them to play identity politics. They've been trying to do that with the forest fires.
How?
indigenous people don't have enough. Well, there was one where they didn't settlement way out north that didn't have a bridge, so they had trouble getting out.
Wow.
Like if you live in a small community, there'd be all sorts of communities that are young and don't have a population that might not seem to be able to support a financial expenditure on a bridge. They're trying to play divisive politics. I believe in ethnic mixing and matching. I don't really believe in a melting pot where everyone turns into basically the same color or something like that. So I believe in mixing and matching. Ethnically, and I suppose culturally as well. I don't believe in different cultures setting up shop and jealously guarding their little domain and their privileges and stuff like that. So if you get ethnic mixing and matching, you're less likely to have what we've got, posse culturalism. I've come up with a new name for it, better description. It's actually, it wouldn't apply strictly to Karen Armstrong, although it's multiculturalist of Karen Armstrong. What Karen Armstrong has done is come up with a new religion. And it's supposed to represent all the religions. What? If you actually checked what she was saying, and then checked with the Muslims, the average Muslim, is a fundamentalist. Might not be a terrorist, but a fundamentalist. And not necessarily the average Muslim in Canada or the United States. Europe, I don't know. But I suspect the average Muslim would say what she has to say about Islam is blasphemy. But multiculturalism as being interpreted, misinterpreted or interpreted in academia and stuff like that is Marxiculturalism. Marxiculturalism. A little bit of a pun. Now what I believe in is a little bit of a pun too. It's maxiculturalism. What I mean by maxiculturalism, I don't mean possiculturalism where there's a few cultures that are selected as being whipping boys. And I'm talking about Calvinism, Catholicism less, so Christianity definitely, capitalism. What are some of the other ones? Those are the main ones. And then most favored status for all the rest. Well, favored status. Most favored status would go to Islam. But favored status, Hinduism, communism, socialism, stuff like that. And there's this pretense that they're all believe in the same thing. It's a Karen Armstrong thing. I don't think she'd be a Marxist, but she's kind of like their darling right now.
Well, the Marxists don't believe in religion. Communists don't favor religion.
They believe in their own religion.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, that could be said.
Belief system. I mean, strictly speaking, the guy who taught me Islam was saying, he didn't like Buddhism. He was whispering basically what he said in the University of Baldwin because it was atheist. It's his read up on it. I have to be careful about what Muslim. No, this guy's a learned guy. But you got to be careful what Muslims say about other religions. I mean, it's been a standard slander coming from Muslims on the Jews because they're supposed to, or the Muslims, to worship one of their patriarchs. So, according to the Muslims, they are polytheists. And that the Christians are supposed to worship their priests. And of course, because they worship a Trinity. What sort of bird is that? You get a good one? Nice looking thing. He's eyeing the seed on the windowsill outside. So, yeah, Christians are supposed, because they worship the Trinity, are supposed to be polytheists. You know, if Christians say that God is three in one, that's up to them. It's not up to someone else. Hey, you're polytheists. They believe that God is one. Doesn't matter if they divide it up. You know, it's like saying, oh, because I recognize I've got a big toe and a little finger, I'm not all one body. And the slander about worshiping priests, absolutely disgusting. What a slimy slander. Wow. And that's capital W, capital O, capital W, underlined in boldface, because it's a bold-faced lie, and exclamation mark at the end, and a la Espanol, exclamation mark at the beginning. And then there's a question mark at the end, and a la the Spanish, a question mark at the beginning. Wow, or wow, or something like that. No, you can't go around doing that kind of stuff. And then be expecting people to, you know, kind of like ultra respect your religion. What? You know, wow. Talk about intolerance. And you want people to tolerate your intolerance? What's that about? Anyway, what is maxiculturalism to me? There should be over 8 billion cultures in this world, one for every person. It shouldn't be a posse cultural system where there's a few, maybe at most a dozen religions or cultures squatting on the people that are subservient to them, who've submitted, surrendered, converted, been baptized, or signed up for the party, a la the commies, or been recruited to something like the Hitler Youth. Oh yeah, that's another one that the Marxist culturalists are down on. Or another two, fascism, and Nazism. Oh, horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. And of course it is horrible. But communism is horrible too. When you actually look at it in the long run, it's as bad as Nazism. Because it hangs on longer. It's hard to get rid of. It's like a really bad case of cancer. It comes back, a la Nicaragua and other places. It comes back. Russia, basically. You know, like they've got a really transmogrified version of communism going. But, you know, my brother was saying, oh, he said it to another person, a third person.
Good.
Putin's a capitalist. Say what? You know, on the Oliver Stone mockumentary, schlockumentary that I was watching recently, Putin was doing the standard anti-capitalist commie line. You know, like he thought for Russia, and it was bad, that you know, privatization was bad, um, that what happened in the 90s in Russia was robbery and stuff like that. Well, his flunkies have continued the robbery and the something like privatization. It's not capitalist privatization, it's just aristocratic privatization. He harks back to the medieval era. Anyway, enough of politics of that sort, and we're going to pick up where we left off. I guess it was yesterday. Cold War. That's what this hockey series between Russia and Canada was about. And that's what made the difference. The fact that the Ruskies were raised in a dictatorship and were put out there on the ice and trained by the smaller versions of the dictatorship. So what the Canadians were able to do, they were poorly trained, and that was partly on them, partly on they started the training too late, didn't take it seriously. I think they started mid-August. The series started sometime fairly early in September. And they had awful management. I mean, that's one of the things that happens kind of in democracy and to a certain extent in a capitalist system. The management is not very well organized, And the Canadian management was horrible. They picked a dumb coach, a coach who believed in violence. He's still involved with the Boston Bruins, but Bruins is a misnomer. They're the Boston Brutes, and they have been that way since World War II. Yes, World War II. They had a guy called Milt Schmidt who ended up being their general manager during the late 60s and for a while in the 70s. And he was a smart guy, but he was a wise guy too. He was a criminal on ice, basically. And he tended to field teams that were specialized in criminality on ice. And they're still doing that under Harry Sinden. So they had a violent coach, a violent assistant coach who was picked, I guess, by Harry Sinden. John Ferguson played for my longtime favorite team, Montreal Canadiens. He was, for the Canadians, he was an answer to the Chicago Blackhawks. Bobby Hull ended up paying for one Stanley Cup he won. The Blackhawks about, I think it was 1960, 61.
Yep, actually. That's what I saw today.
Ferruginous Hawk. Okay, that's not the Hawk I saw, but wow, we saw a lot of Raptors today. No Toronto Raptors, but
yeah, you even saw a bald eagle.
I saw a bald eagle, yeah, and pretty up close. Like it was, I don't know, about from me to the apple tree over on the other side of the deck there. And when he took off, it scared me a little bit. It was almost like a pterodactyl taking off. I didn't know how close he was. Luckily enough, he was taken off away from me.
You said you saw a red hawk?
A reddish kind of hawk, kind of rusty colored. It might have been ferruginous, I don't know. Let me see what that looked in ferruginous.
So it's a whole lot of white.
Definitely didn't look like, I was seeing him from the side, not under, but I saw a lot of reddish stuff. See, ferruginous means kind of like, I presume, rusty.
Okay.
See, it come from, I think it's ferrum, Latin.
Because there's this one,
iron.
red tail.
Let's see that one.
Sorry about this.
It might have been that one. Oh,
You saw a red
you
tail.
don't apologize. I mean, we're covering a lot of things here, covering a lot of bases, like... I'm interested in a lot of things. Pauline isn't
There's
interested in
this
sports.
one.
It was that one.
That was what you saw.
Does that hang around here in the summertime? Borderline?
Yep.
Yeah. It was. There was a lot
James
of red
saw
there.
a Swainson's hawk today.
No, a light morph. Yeah. It didn't have this black stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see on his body there's a lot of
Rusty stuff.
reddy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was a Swainson's
That's not
hawk,
what
unless
I
you can
saw.
find something. Yeah. So We saw 3 different types of raptors. We saw them kind of like stalking some pelicans. So they all were stalking 2 different pelican groups. We saw them stalking a group of 4. I presume that was 2 male-female partnerships. I think they were just trying to lure the hawks away from their
And
nestlings.
the bald eagle was right by James when it took off out of a tree. And
Yeah.
he said it seemed like a pterodactyl, it was so huge. And look at the size, 31 inches compared to. So I can see why you'd think that, like the
Wow.
hawks that we
That's
were
almost
looking
like,
at.
what is that, a meter wide? That's the wingspan, right?
Which one was it the hawk that you saw, the Swainson's?
Swainson's, I think.
That one's 19 inches.
Yeah, it seemed it's big, but it seemed like I said to Pauline, by
Like a
comparison, it was
pigeon,
right
yeah.
after, it was in the wake of the eagle. It seemed like a pigeon by comparison. It might have, if you find another rusty one that's smaller, I could go with that. But the pelicans were playing it smart. Like the second group were around it's a group of 3 were around the eagle, and 2 went one way. I wonder why the birds don't. The first 4 hadn't done it.
Yeah.
2 went one way, landed on the water, and 1 went. And so they were going on the water a little bit north, just as the current took them, kind of like. And they would have been fighting the current, but a little bit. And the other one went south, the opposite direction. It's really smart. And, the eagle had taken off, but the Swainson hawk followed the one solitary one. I guess they were kind of figuring, the raptors, they've got to circle back to their nest eventually, so we'll just follow. Anyway, it was quite a day. We saw a Baltimore Oriole
Yeah.
today.
It's always great.
First
when
time
you
I've
see
seen
one
a
of those.
Baltimore Oriole out in the wild, at least.
No, you saw them with me that time. You've forgotten.
I've kind of forgotten, but I got to see it again. What the
That's
hey?
all right.
Friedrich Nietzsche said the good
That's
thing
it.
about having a bad memory
Exactly.
is you
Getting
get to
old and-
enjoy something for the first time over and over and over again.
That's great. So you'll keep taking me on these hikes because it'll all be new to you.
Well, not all, but I remember something. Was it around there where we saw the
Yes.
Baltimore? Yeah. So
I have the
was that
videos.
last year or was that this year?
It might have been the year before.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's been a while. Anyway, when I saw it, I said, I can't imagine anything being that orange.
Yeah. They're fantastic.
Aside from a tangerine on wings or something like that. And it was very, very shy. It was on one side of the bush. I kind of peeked around the bush, and it went on the other. It kept on going on the other side of the bush to keep the bush in between me. But it was. I just saw a flash, and then I saw a flash, and then it was gone. But it hung around. It must have had a nest there, because Pauline was quite a bit behind me, and I was just trying to rest my back and wait for Pauline where I'd seen the eagle, and it was still there. She got a video of it, or a film of it, when she came along quite a bit later. So at any rate, the Russians had certain fixed patterns. They had patterns based on ideology. So I was trying to demonstrate on camera here what they do. Here, let's say this is Ken Dryden. No, this